Hi, everybody. I want to start out saying a word to you young people. Letting you know that I think you've all got it way too easy when it comes to your ability to binge watch TV shows. All right? You've got whole series on DVD. You've got streaming, on demand, stuff stored in your DVR. When I was younger, I didn't have any of that. All right? If I wanted to watch a whole lot of a particular TV show that I hadn't, say, archived on VHS tapes, I would have to wait for some television network to show a marathon of that show. And that, folks, is how I became familiar with a TV series called Barney Miller. Now, if you're not familiar with Barney Miller, it's a half-hour comedy. It's about the detective squad in a rundown police precinct in New York City in the late 1970s and early 80s. So it's a little bit like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, only it's better. Because, with a few rare exceptions, every episode of Barney Miller takes place in one set. So it's like a little half-hour play every week with clever dialogue and fun, interesting characters. Now, I'd never seen Barney Miller, but I'd heard about it. I knew it was highly regarded. And so one Saturday morning in the early 2000s, I was hanging around the house. I had the weekend off, nothing really to do. So I was flipping around the TV channels trying to find something to have on while I took care of chores, folding laundry, washing dishes, running the vacuum cleaner, stuff like that. And I discovered that the network TV Land was in the middle of a 3-day marathon of Barney Miller. And I thought, well, I'll tune in for a couple of episodes. If it's good, I'll stick with it. Otherwise, I'll find something else to watch. Over the next day and a half, I watched 32 hours of Barney Miller. With commercials and the opening and closing credits on every episode. Now, luckily, that wasn't a chore, because the theme song for Barney Miller slaps. But I only slept for 5 hours that night. And even that made me angry, because it meant that I would be missing 10 episodes of Barney Miller. And who knows what would happen in those 10 episodes. There could be some development with Harris's book. There could be a visit by Lieutenant Scanlon from Internal Affairs. And I would miss it, because I'd be sleeping. Stupid biological necessities making me miss Barney Miller. Now, of course, in hindsight, you might be saying, Dave, why didn't you just record those episodes and then watch them later? To which my response would be, out of order? That's absurd. I mean, suppose there was some development with Harris's book. How could I be emotionally invested if I already know how it works out? Now, obviously, since then, yes, I have gone back and I've seen every episode of Barney Miller multiple times. But it didn't have the same emotional impact, folks. You only get one chance to watch each episode of Barney Miller for the first time. Now, I want to put this into perspective a little bit, because when I started watching this marathon early on Saturday, it had already been running for a whole day already. So, for example, by the time I started watching, Dietrich was already there, and Fish was on his way out. I had no idea who Chano even was. To give you a sense of what I'm talking about here, this was a 3-day marathon. That's 72 hours. That's 144 half hours. That is not enough time to show every episode of Barney Miller. That is how much Barney Miller exists. And it occurred to me that that means that there was some person working in the offices of TV Land whose job it was to decide which episodes of Barney Miller they were not going to include in this marathon. And that's a terrible job to have. I just imagine that person walking into their boss's office holding a memo. Hey, I just got this assignment. What the hell? You're telling me I got to go through every season of Barney Miller and find 2 episodes to just leave out? And then find another 2 episodes on top of that? No amount of money is worth this. You're lucky my kid has bad teeth and I need my dental plan, or I would walk. So I think I've established pretty well that during that day and a half, I lived deep inside Barney Miller. And between that and the lack of sleep, by the time they got to the end of this marathon, when they were showing the series finale, I was pretty raw. In fact, I recall that Sunday night at 11:55 p.m. in my living room watching TV in my underpants, sobbing, tears streaming down my face at the end of Barney Miller. Levitt passed the detective's exam. That's all he's ever wanted. I haven't cried like this since Nick Yamana died. And that was 17 hours ago. Thanks, folks. I'll see you next time.